The young and the restless spoilers, a tangled web of love and deception. Traci's fateful escape. Traci's world had always been a maze of secrets and half-truths, a place where every whispered conversation carried the weight of betrayal. Yet nothing could have prepared her for the storm that was about to break over her life, a storm that would force her to choose between the familiar chains of Genoa City and the unknown promise of a love that might just be a cruel trap. For months, Traci had publicly maintained that she could not get a hold of Alan. In meetings and casual conversations, she insisted that the man whose voice once brought her comfort was now utterly unreachable. But behind closed doors, away from prying eyes, Traci had found a secret lifeline, clandestine phone calls and midnight rendezvous with a man who went by a name she had come to trust. The truth was far more complex than anyone suspected. Instead of Alan, it was Martin who had been speaking to her. A man whose voice was soft and convincing, who had made promises of undying love. One fateful evening, in a dimly lit room away from the watchful gaze of her colleagues, Martin finally confessed the truth. "I am not Alan," he admitted, his tone laced with vulnerability, "but I love you, Traci." Those words, spoken with raw sincerity, broke down the walls of doubt that had long held her captive. Despite the shock of the revelation, Traci's heart chose to believe him. After all, love often demands a leap of faith even in the face of uncertainty. It was this love that compelled Traci to make a decision that would alter the course of her destiny. She decided, with a mixture of trepidation and fierce determination, that she was done with the suffocating confines of Genoa City. She longed for a fresh start, a chance to live life on her own terms, even if that meant leaving behind the familiar and the safe. In her mind, the promise of a new life with Martin in Paris shone like a beacon, a stark contrast to the darkness of her current existence. Yet beneath that dazzling promise lurked a sinister possibility, a trap set by Martin himself. Aware of the peril that came with their newfound intimacy, Martin laid down his terms. "Do not speak of this to anyone," he whispered in a tone that was both tender and commanding. "Let our silence be the shield that protects us from the venom of those who would seek to tear us apart." For Traci, these words were a bittersweet covenant. She had agreed to keep their secret hidden, locking away her true feelings behind a facade of discreet silence, even as her heart beat wildly in defiance of reason. In the dead of night, Traci made her escape. With trembling hands, she penned a farewell letter to the life she was leaving behind, a letter that was as much a declaration of independence as it was an acceptance of fate. "I want to live my life," she wrote in bold, trembling strokes. "Even if it leads me to death, I will no longer be shackled by fear or the demands of others." The letter was left behind as a final act of rebellion, a message to those who believed they could control her destiny. The following morning, as the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Martin waited for her at the airport. There, amidst the bustling crowd of hopeful travelers and tearful goodbyes, their eyes met in a moment that seemed both eternal and transient. They embraced, their reunion filled with both fervor and a lingering sense of uncertainty. For in that embrace lay the promise of a new beginning, a beginning that was as intoxicating as it was dangerous. Yet, the unfolding drama did not go unnoticed. Loyal fans of the saga whispered in forums and social gatherings that this dramatic escape was nothing more than a staged performance, a trap meticulously designed by Martin to ensnare Traci's heart and soul. They questioned whether the man who had captured her affections was truly sincere or if his declarations of love were just a prelude to further betrayal. The theories swirled like a tempest, with some even speculating that Martin's promises were the calculated moves of a master manipulator whose true intent was to lead Traci into an inescapable snare. Caught in the whirlwind of these conflicting realities, Traci found herself at a crossroads. Her love for Martin was all-consuming, driving her to the brink of obsession. Every heartbeat, every stolen moment of passion, was punctuated by the nagging fear that she might be nothing more than a pawn in a larger, more sinister game. And yet, despite the warnings, the pull of love was irresistible. In her eyes, the idea of living a life dictated by fear was unbearable. She yearned for the wild, unbridled passion that Martin promised, even if it meant risking everything. Inside, Traci wrestled with a torrent of emotions. The pain of the past mingled with the intoxicating allure of a love that seemed both liberating and perilous. She wondered, over and over, if she had made the right choice. Had she willingly embraced a destiny that was doomed from the start? Was her heart leading her toward salvation or toward a deeper, irreversible betrayal? Each moment was a battle, a struggle between the desire to trust and the instinct to protect herself from heartbreak. As the days passed and the initial rush of escape faded into the reality of her new life in Paris, questions began to surface. Could Martin truly be trusted? Would he ever be tempted to reveal his true nature, to abandon her in favor of a grander ambition? And what of the love that had so clearly transformed her, a love that now teetered on the edge of madness? Traci's internal turmoil was palpable, a living, breathing testament to the dangers of placing one's heart in the hands of a mysterious stranger. Throughout this tumultuous journey, one hope remained steadfast in Traci's mind, a hope that Martin would never betray her, that his love would be genuine and unyielding. "Please, let this be real," she silently pleaded with the winds of fate, "and do not let my heart be shattered by deceit." For her, love was not just an emotion, it was a lifeline, a desperate bid to reclaim the freedom and joy that had long been denied to her. In the eyes of onlookers and the relentless whispers of Genoa City, Traci's flight seemed like a grand, audacious gamble, a dramatic escape from a world that had always been too confining, too dangerous. Whether her decision would lead her to a new life of bliss or trap her in a cycle of endless betrayal remained uncertain. But in that moment, with Martin's arms around her and the lights of Paris illuminating their path, Traci chose to believe in love. She chose to believe in a future where her heart could finally be free, even as the specter of doubt and suspicion loomed ominously in the background. And so, with every passing day, the saga of Traci and Martin continued to unfold, a tale of passion, peril, and the relentless quest for freedom. For all who watched this drama with bated breath, the hope was simple yet profound, that Martin, the man whose identity was as enigmatic as it was alluring, would be true to his promises, and that Traci's wild, desperate love would one day find the sanctuary it so desperately sought. In the dangerous game of hearts, only time would tell whether this love story was destined for a triumphant happily ever after or a tragic descent into the abyss of betrayal. This narrative captures the complex interplay of secrets, love, and treachery. Traci's desperate escape from Genoa City and her passionate union with Martin, shrouded in mystery and suspicion, raise questions about trust and the price of following one's heart. As fans speculate on the true intentions behind every whispered promise, the story remains a captivating blend of romance and intrigue, a drama where every decision could be the difference between redemption and ruin. In the shimmering twilight of Paris, where beauty and danger often dance a delicate waltz, Ashley found herself immersed in a world of bittersweet memories and elusive hope. The city, renowned for its timeless charm and romantic allure, now held a sinister secret for her, a secret that would intertwine her fate with that of Traci in ways neither could have foreseen. Ashley had arrived in Paris with a spirit yearning for renewal. The city's cobblestone streets, bathed in the glow of vintage street lamps, whispered promises of escape from a past laden with personal betrayals and shattered dreams. With each step, she embraced the romance of Paris, convinced that the city would grant her solace and a fresh start. Yet, beneath its enchanting exterior, dark undercurrents were at play. Unbeknownst to Ashley, Traci had also journeyed to Paris, driven by a desperate need to confront the shadows of her own troubled past. While Ashley basked in the city's light, Traci navigated its labyrinthine alleys with a mix of trepidation and determination. However, fate had conspired against them both. Paris was to become the stage for a nightmarish ordeal from which escape seemed impossible. Late one fateful evening, as the city exhaled its cool night air, the two women's worlds collided in the most harrowing manner. Without any forewarning, both Ashley and Traci were forcibly taken from their temporary havens. In the eerie silence of an abandoned Parisian building, far from the comforting hum of life on the streets, they found themselves bound by cold, unyielding metal and the suffocating presence of fear. The mastermind behind their abduction was Martin, a man whose calm, calculated demeanor masked a ruthless and enigmatic nature. Martin was not driven by a simple desire for power or wealth, his motivations were deeply personal, born out of old vendettas and twisted loyalties. To him, the kidnapping of Ashley and Traci was more than a mere act of criminality. It was a message, a dark reminder of betrayal's past and the inevitable consequences of misplaced trust. Back in a world seemingly miles away from the Parisian nightmare, Jack and Billy received a chilling message that would shatter any remnants of hope they had clung to. The message was succinct yet horrifying. A photograph of Ashley and Traci, their eyes filled with terror, captured in a moment of vulnerability that spoke volumes about the predicament they faced. The image was not just a cry for help, it was a testament to the cruelty of betrayal. For Jack and Billy, who had long believed in the integrity of their own connections, the revelation struck like a bolt of lightning. Traci's decision to trust a seemingly reliable man had turned into a betrayal so profound it left them reeling with anger and disbelief. Jack's heart pounded as he scrutinized every detail of the photograph, each pixel a reminder of the dire situation unfolding in Paris. Billy, equally distraught, clenched his fists, grappling with a maelstrom of emotions, rage, sorrow, and a piercing sense of helplessness. Their trust had been shattered by Traci's naive belief in a man who had only ever promised protection but delivered treachery instead. The betrayal was not just personal. It was emblematic of a larger pattern of broken promises and unforeseen dangers lurking beneath the surface. The city of Paris, with its storied past and illustrious landmarks, now stood as a grim backdrop to the unfolding drama. Its streets, once brimming with life and artistic vibrancy, now echoed with the silent footsteps of those who dared to confront the darkness. The Eiffel Tower, a symbol of love and light, loomed in the distance, its brilliance a stark contrast to the grim reality that had taken hold in its shadow. For Ashley and Traci, Paris had transformed from a sanctuary into a prison, a labyrinth of despair where every turn might lead to further peril. As hours turned into an agonizing eternity, the two captive women struggled to maintain their composure. Ashley, though visibly shaken, tried to muster her inner strength, recalling memories of resilience from a past where she had overcome unimaginable odds. Traci, on the other hand, wrestled with a turbulent blend of regret and determination. She knew that her decision to trust Martin had been a grievous error, one that now threatened not only her own life but also that of her dear friend Ashley. Martin, ever the puppeteer, watched with a detached satisfaction as his carefully orchestrated plan unfolded. His motivations, shrouded in mystery, were slowly coming to light through subtle clues, a whispered conversation overheard in a dimly lit corridor, a discarded letter bearing cryptic symbols. The question that loomed large now was not just how to free Ashley and Traci, but why they had been targeted in the first place. Martin's actions suggested a deeper, more insidious purpose, one that threatened to unravel the very fabric of trust and loyalty within their inner circle. Meanwhile, Jack and Billy faced their own internal battles. They were determined to embark on a rescue mission, even if it meant venturing into the heart of danger. Their minds raced with questions. How could they possibly locate the exact whereabouts of the hidden captivity? What leverage did Martin hold over their loved ones? And, perhaps most importantly, how could they mend the fractured trust that had led them to this moment of crisis? With resolute determination, Jack began piecing together every scrap of information available, from cryptic hints in past correspondences to subtle nuances in Traci's earlier behavior. Billy, leveraging his own unique insights, coordinated with a small group of trusted allies, each possessing skills honed through years of navigating the underbelly of the criminal world. Together, they formed a plan that was as intricate as it was daring, a plan that required not only bravery but a deep understanding of the psychological warfare waged by Martin. As the clock ticked relentlessly, the tension in Paris grew palpable. The city, unaware of the clandestine struggle unfolding within its borders, continued its nightly routine, cafes filled with hushed conversations, streets bathed in a mixture of nostalgia and the promise of new beginnings. Yet, beneath this veneer of normalcy, a storm was brewing, a storm fueled by betrayal, fear, and a desperate need for redemption. In a series of adrenaline-fueled flashbacks, the narrative of betrayal began to unravel. Traci's misplaced trust in Martin was not a simple lapse in judgment, it was a culmination of years spent seeking validation in the wrong places. The once bright promise of a loyal alliance had been marred by Martin's cunning manipulation, leaving her vulnerable and exposed. Ashley, ever the silent observer, had long sensed that there was more to the man than met the eye, but her warnings had been drowned out by Traci's fervent insistence on believing in his goodwill. Now, faced with the tangible consequences of their decisions, both women were forced to confront the fragility of human trust. The stark realization that betrayal could come from the very people one holds dear was a bitter pill to swallow. Yet, even in the midst of despair, there was a spark, a glimmer of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, the bonds of friendship and loyalty could be rekindled amidst the darkness. Jack and Billy's impending rescue mission was not merely an act of vengeance or desperation, it was a testament to the unyielding power of human connection. Their journey would take them deep into the underbelly of Paris, where every shadow concealed a secret and every alley whispered tales of lost trust. Their mission was fraught with risks, and the path ahead was riddled with uncertainties. But for them, the stakes were clear: to reclaim those who had been unjustly taken and to restore a semblance of order in a world turned upside down by deceit. As the night deepened, the narrative of survival, betrayal, and redemption intertwined in a tapestry of emotions and unforeseen twists. Ashley and Traci, bound by their shared ordeal, clung to the hope that rescue was imminent. Their silent pact, formed in the depths of despair, was a promise to one another that they would not let their captors' malevolence define their fate. In the final hours before the planned rescue, Paris itself seemed to hold its breath. Every street corner, every whispered conversation in a smoky cafe, echoed with the anticipation of what was to come. The city that had once been a beacon of romance now bore the scars of a deeper, darker conflict, one that challenged the very essence of trust and loyalty in a world where every ally could be a potential betrayer. The question loomed large in the minds of all involved: what now? The answer was as elusive as the shifting shadows on the Parisian pavement, yet it carried the weight of every hope, every regret, and every fractured dream that had led them to this moment. Jack, Billy, Ashley, and Traci were all bound together in a relentless struggle against forces that sought to tear them apart. Their only solace lay in the belief that, even in the darkest of nights, the human spirit could ignite a spark of resistance, a spark that might just be enough to dispel the encroaching gloom and restore the promise of a new dawn. And so, as the city of Paris stood witness to this unfolding drama, the battle for redemption and the reclamation of trust had only just begun. The stakes were higher than ever, and every decision, every moment of hesitation, could mean the difference between salvation and eternal entrapment in the shadows.